Are you constantly seeking peace and tranquility in your life? In this video, we'll be discussing the importance of staying silent in various situations to embody the virtues of self-control, wisdom, and courage. Lesson 1. Silent anger. According to the tenets of Stoicism, anger is among the most harmful feelings a person can have. It interferes with mental clarity, impairs judgment, and triggers impulsive behavior. Our minds are like a moving sea when we are upset. There is no clarity as the waves crash. It's simple to say or do things we later regret when we're furious. The Stoics would contend that the wisest course of action in times of rage is to say nothing. This stillness leaves a gap between our reaction to the trigger, whatever enraged us, and the stimulus itself. We have the ability to make the decision to respond logically and calmly rather than carelessly in that area. What matters is how you respond to what occurs to you, not what happens to you. By practicing remaining silent when we are angry, we are teaching ourselves self-control. We are becoming experts at being emotionally resilient. Anger spreads easily. It's human nature to want to yell back at people who yell at us. However, Stoicism teaches us that doing so just makes things worse. Conversely, silence has the power to calm rage in both ourselves and other people. By refraining from reacting angrily right away, we allow ourselves time to cool off, and we take away the source of the other person's ire. Reminds us that oftentimes, silence speaks louder than words when we are angry. We demonstrate strength when we control our anger and don't lose it. We demonstrate command. Being silent in the face of rage enables us to exhibit the virtue of temperance, controlling our feelings and acting sensibly rather than letting passion get the better of us. Take a big breath when you feel angry. Pay attention to your breathing. This small action relaxes the nervous system and slows the racing thoughts. Give yourself some space, if at all feasible, before confronting the cause of your ire. Move on if necessary. You can recover your calm and react logically rather than emotionally during the wait. We are not avoiding confrontation when we choose to remain silent in the face of it. Rather, we are choosing how we respond to it. Stoics who recognize that true strength derives from self-mastery are known for their ability to remain silent in the face of fury. Lesson 2. Silent offense. In today's environment, people take offense at practically anything. A gaze, a remark, or a difference of opinion can make someone feel extremely offended or hurt. But taking offense is viewed as a decision in Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius stated, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." According to Stoicism, offense frequently results from our ego and our need for approval from others. It is not the words themselves that give us sorrow when someone says something hurtful. Rather, it is how we perceive those words. When we are insulted, we allow ourselves the chance to consider why we are offended and whether the offense is really worth our emotional energy. This is accomplished by keeping silent. It is an act of self-liberation to remain silent in the face of offense. It enables us to step back from other people's words and deeds and accept that their beliefs and actions are not under our control. What we can control, though, is our decision on how to react or not react. Our natural reaction when someone offends us is frequently to protect ourselves, take offense, or refute the other person. However, Stoicism tells us that this response stems from our desire for recognition and approval. We are proving that our value is independent of other people's perceptions of us when we choose to remain silent. You should acknowledge that your mind is involved in the provocation if someone is successful in provoking you. We enable offense to occur. It is not something that occurs to us. It shows inner strength rather than weakness to keep quiet when upset. It demonstrates that we can remain calm in the face of adversity and that we are not readily influenced by the thoughts of others. By not taking offense, we deprive them of the ability to sabotage our peace. If something offends you, stop for a moment. Consider if it is worth your time to focus on the offense. When we allow ourselves space to think, we frequently come to the conclusion that the transgression was small and not worth the emotional distress. Think on the motivations underlying the transgression. Did the other person just have a different perspective, or were they intentionally seeking to harm you? Stoicism instills in us the virtue of not taking things personally and of viewing others with optimism. Offense frequently stems from our need to be justified or to be accepted as justified. We release ourselves from the emotional weight of upholding our ego by letting go of this demand. Resilience and emotional freedom are developed when we practice being silent in the face of offense. We come to value our inner tranquility more than approval from others. Lesson 3. Quiet connections. There are instances in our relationships, with friends, family, or partners, when keeping quiet is the most kind and caring thing we can do. While communication is important, Stoicism teaches us that not every idea or emotion has to be voiced. A strong strategy for preserving peace and strengthening our relationships with one another is silence. Relationships are based on mutual respect and understanding, as the Stoics knew. Relationships can occasionally become strained rather than strengthened by talking too much or discussing things too much. Here, silence is about allowing people to express themselves and about us to think on our own feelings and ideas, not about keeping back or being aloof. Silence in our relationships frees us up to listen more intently and to simply be present without having to continually express our wants or thoughts. It also assists us in avoiding pointless disputes or miscommunications. When we are silent in our relationships, it serves as a reminder to speak only when our words enhance the relationship, as said by Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Our natural tendency is to defend, justify, or dispute when problems in our relationships occur. But Stoicism teaches that sometimes the best approach to settle arguments is to remain silent. By keeping quiet, we allow both ourselves and the other person the space to gather our thoughts, cool off, and address the matter more rationally. Being silent is one of the most effective ways we can demonstrate our love and respect for one another in our relationships. A deeper connection is made when you are really present with someone without having to talk or fill the silence with words. It enables us to accept the other individual for who they are, without attempting to alter or improve them. Silence is regarded in Stoicism as a means of respecting the autonomy of the other person. We demonstrate our confidence and respect for them to manage their own thoughts and emotions by remaining silent when it is not essential to speak. Priorities listening above speaking in your relationships. We make room for the other person to feel heard and understood when we listen intently. It's not always necessary to use words to settle disputes. Sometimes keeping quiet lets the dispute go away on its own. Take time to spend with your loved ones and don't feel obligated to talk in between. Enjoy the tranquility that arises from spending time together. We foster stronger ties and foster an atmosphere of respect and understanding between us when we practice silence in our relationships. Lesson 4. Quiet ignorance. One of the main virtues according to Stoic principles is wisdom. However, the Stoics claim that wisdom arises from realizing how little we actually know, rather than from possessing complete knowledge. Silence is therefore an essential weapon in the fight against ignorance, both our own and that of others. According to Stoicism, the best course of action when faced with ignorance, whether it be our own or someone else's, is to remain silent. This is due to the fact that hasty speech or correction frequently stems from ego rather than a genuine desire to comprehend. Spreading false information or misunderstandings is one of the biggest risks of speaking ignorantly. The Stoics held that it is preferable to keep quiet than to express opinions on subjects we do not completely comprehend. It is preferable to be quiet and be viewed as an idiot than to speak up and dispel any uncertainty. Being silent in the face of ignorance is a discipline in itself. It takes patience to learn before we speak, and humility to acknowledge when we don't have all the answers. When we jump into something without enough knowledge, we run the risk of making mistakes and losing our reputation. Practice the humility of quiet when someone is discussing a subject or circumstance that you don't fully grasp. Recognize that there is yet more to discover. Two of the most significant characteristics in Stoic philosophy, wisdom and humility, are developed through exercising stillness in the face of ignorance. Lesson 5. Quiet pride. The Stoics believe that one of the biggest obstacles to leading a moral and satisfying life is ego. It's the voice within of us that yearns for approval, dominance over others, and attention. Silence is a strong discipline in Stoicism that helps to quiet the ego and cultivate humility. Speaking from our egos means that we are frequently looking for approval from others or attempting to establish our value. This is an aimless endeavor. As Stoicism teaches, our integrity and inner character are what define us, not what other people think of us. We are exercising self-control when we keep quiet in the face of ego. We are reminding ourselves that we may feel worthy without seeking approval from others. We all care more about other people's opinions than our own, but we love ourselves more than they do. This never ceases to astonish me. Stillness enables us to overcome this dilemma. Humility is regarded as one of the greatest characteristics in Stoicism. It is the understanding that none of us are more significant or worthy than the rest. Being silent in the face of ego is a humble gesture. It enables us to take a back seat, listen instead of speaking out, and put other people's needs ahead of our own desire for approval. We are not diminishing our value as individuals when we choose to remain silent in the face of ego. Instead, we are developing a stronger feeling of worth in ourselves that is unaffected by praise from others. The core of Stoic wisdom is to look inside for contentment and serenity, instead than looking outside of oneself. The Stoics believe that pride is a harmful emotion because it keeps us from developing and keeps us apart from other people. We prevent ourselves from growing and learning when we are too arrogant to accept responsibility for our errors or to listen to others. It is a sign of self-awareness to remain silent in the face of pride. It assists us in identifying instances in which our ego obstructs our personal development. By keeping quiet, we allow ourselves the chance to think, own our shortcomings, and become more receptive to knowledge from others. Practice being silent when you feel the need to prove yourself to others or to get approval. Remember that your value is independent on other people's perceptions of you. Consider whether your statements are driven by ego or a sincere desire to contribute before you speak. If it's the former, you might want to say nothing. We can develop humility and self-awareness by practicing quiet in the face of ego, which enables us to live in accordance with our genuine ideals as opposed to pursuing approval from others. Lesson 6. Confident silence. One of the most sensitive and important components of human interactions is trust. In Stoicism, integrity and deeds speak louder than words for establishing trust. In this situation, silence is essential to building trust in ourselves and in others. Trust is something you have to gain with virtue and constancy, according to Stoicism. We undermine trust when we talk about our goals all the time, or when we make promises we can't keep. Conversely, we silently develop trust when we behave respectfully and let our deeds speak for themselves. Marcus Aurelius stressed the need of acting with integrity rather than looking to other people for approval. Don't waste any more time debating what makes a good person. Become one. In this way, silence is about allowing our deeds speak for us. Silence may be a potent symbol of trust in partnerships. When we trust someone, we don't feel the need to inquire about their intentions, follow up with them frequently, or demand explanations. When you trust someone, you should be silent and allow them to act freely, knowing that they will respect your relationship. Maintaining our self-trust also requires this kind of stillness. According to Stoicism, self-trust results from leading a morally upright life. When we behave honorably, we don't need to seek out or justify our actions to other people. We let our deeds speak for us and have faith in our ability to accomplish what is right. One of the main tenets of Stoic philosophy is integrity. It is the practice of upholding our moral principles in the face of outside pressure. Being silent in situations involving trust is a sign of our honesty. We are demonstrating that we can live our truth by our deeds and do not need to justify ourselves verbally or with hollow promises. Silence thus turns into an effective instrument for fostering trust. It enables us to demonstrate our trustworthiness rather than just stating it. Focus on operating with honesty rather than justifying yourself or making promises. Not with words, but by constant moral behavior. Trust is established. Allow people the freedom to behave as you see fit when you trust them. Refrain from interrogating them about everything or pressuring them for explanations. Living according to your ideals is a good way to start believing in yourself. You don't need other people's affirmation or praise when you behave honorably. We develop deeper, more genuine relationships based on honesty and respect for one another when we refrain from speaking when it comes to concerns of trust. Lesson 7. Listening quietly. One of the most underappreciated aspects of human communication is listening. According to Stoicism, listening is an essential skill for developing understanding, empathy, and wisdom. In this process, silence is essential because it enables us to listen intently without being sidetracked by our own ideas or the want to react. Being silent when listening involves being totally present with the other person as well as hearing what they have to say. It involves putting aside our preconceived notions, beliefs, and impulse to react in order to pay attention to what the other person has to say. Deep listening like this promotes connection, empathy, and understanding. Silent listening gives the other person the opportunity to fully express themselves. We demonstrate to them our appreciation for their ideas and emotions, and that we are not merely waiting for our chance to speak. Empathy is a quality of this type of listening because it enables us to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and view the world from their point of view. Empathy is viewed as a virtue in Stoicism since it enables us to live in harmony and understanding with others. We develop the virtue of silent listening and fortify our bonds with one another by doing so. The central idea of Stoic philosophy is understanding. The Stoics held that knowing oneself and others is the path to true wisdom. An essential component of this process is listening in silence. We are better able to comprehend the viewpoint of others when we listen quietly, without interrupting or adding our own thoughts. This kind of comprehension enables us to resolve disputes amicably, forge closer bonds with others, and coexist peacefully with those around us. Try to be totally present with people as they speak. Put aside your personal opinions and focus on their words and body language. When you listen, try not to answer right away. Before you provide your opinions, give the other person time to finish expressing themselves. Ask questions that will enable you to gain a deeper understanding of the other person's perspective, rather than imposing your own judgment or opinion. Silent listening is a way to develop insight, wisdom, and empathy, 3 essential Stoic qualities. Stoicism encourages us to keep silence in 7 situations: wrath, offense, bonds, ignorance, ego, trust, and listening. These are all chances for development, wisdom, and self-control. Being silent is about deciding when and how to interact with the outside world in a way that is consistent with our highest ideals, not about suppressing our thoughts or feelings. We develop inner calmness, strengthen our bonds with others, and regain control over our emotions when we practice stillness. The colorful nature of one's ideas becomes infused into one's spirit. By keeping quiet, we make sure that the qualities of discernment, bravery, justice, and moderation are reflected in both our thoughts and deeds.